The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines accountability as an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions. In my research, I found a very strong link between trust and accountability. Like any trust relationship, this one too is reciprocal. If you behave in an accountable way, I will trust you. I will give you the autonomy that you need because I trust you not to abuse it. And you will then trust me and be even more accountable. Accountability cuts across many relationships, from personal to professional. In this first of the two-part episode, through stories and my research and trust model, I will discuss several aspects of accountability, the link between accountability and trust, and give you 10 ways to be more accountable and trusted. This is the first part of 2 episodes. I will give you the first 6 here. Welcome to The Trust Show. I'm Yoram Solomon, your host, the author of the Book of Trust, and facilitator of the Trust Habits Workshop. My mission is simple. I want to help you form habits that build your trustworthiness, because the answer to this question will have the biggest impact on your personal and professional success or failure. Can I trust you? You know, I used to fly radio-controlled airplanes with a friend of mine, and I remember one day he took off with one of his airplanes. He immediately rolled over, crashed, and he pretty much lost the plane. And I remember that he started, first cursing and then yelling and then blaming everything, the plane, the battery, the field, the wind, everything but himself. And I remember that once when I crashed an airplane, and I crashed way more than one, I remember that the first thing that went through my mind was, what did I do wrong? Even if it's a servo that failed, I chose the servo, I installed it in the airplane. I had to understand what I did wrong, because only when I understand what I did wrong, I will be able to fix it and not do it again. Well, people who blame others are not trusted. They're not accountable. When you see somebody else starting to blame others, even if they're not blaming you, you're not going to trust them. So being accountable means that you have to ask yourself, what was your part in whatever failure that we have here? Being accountable means that you focus on learning from mistakes rather than finding who to blame. Being accountable is learning how to say, I was wrong. And even the advanced version, I was wrong and you were right. Trust me, it's harder to say. Or just saying that this was my fault. This was my mistake. Fixing a broken relationship starts with you admitting and owning your part of the failure. Did it ever happen to you that you expected somebody to do something and they didn't do it, and then you got disappointed in them, and you really expected them to do this, or somebody expected you to do something? Well, did you ever ask yourself, did I ever tell them that I expect that of them? Do they even know that I expect that? You see, expecting something without actually asking is not taking ownership of that. I know it can be awkward. It can feel intimidating to ask somebody, to tell them that this is what I expect of you. But being accountable means that you don't just expect things. You actually ask for them. You tell the other person what you expect from them, even if it's not very comfortable, even if it's awkward to ask. The same applies to making assumptions about what other people are thinking or what their motivation is, because now you're starting to fill the gap with things that are in your head and not with reality. So being accountable also means that you don't assume things, you actually ask so that you will know. If you like this video, click the like button, subscribe to this channel, and get notified when I release more videos like this. The eighth law of trust says that the level of trust I have in you is the product of my trustability, my willingness to trust other people, and your trustworthiness. And there's almost nothing you can do about the former, my trustability, and everything you can do about the latter, your trustworthiness. Being accountable means that instead of saying what other people need to do to build trust in our organization, you focus on your own trustworthiness. And if everybody focused on their own trustworthiness, we will have a higher level of trust. But being accountable means that you own your part of trustworthiness, and that's what you focus on. Ask not what others can do to earn your trust. Ask what you can do to earn theirs. How does communication work? Well, it starts with an idea in your brain that comes out of your mouth. You know how it is when sometimes the words that come out of your mouth are not really what started in your brain. You go, did I really say this out loud? So it starts with an idea in your brain. It comes out of your mouth. Now, between your mouth and my ears, there is a distance and there's noise and other reasons why what comes into my ear is not exactly what came out of your mouth. And then there are all of my cognitive abilities and perceptions and whatever distorts what my ears heard to what my brain understood. The bottom line is what started in your brain is not exactly what ended it in my brain. And the question is, whose fault is it? Well, being accountable means that you own your side of miscommunication. If you told me something and I did not understand it, being accountable means that you own the fact that I did not understand it. So instead of telling me, you didn't understand a single word that I said, how about if you say, I'm going to try and say it in a different way, because you really own the fact that I did not understand it. Being accountable means that you own the fact that you didn't understand what I said. And instead of telling me, you can't explain anything well, instead of that saying, I didn't get it. Can you try and explain it in an easier way, a simpler way, a different way? But you don't put me on the defense. So being accountable is owning your side of miscommunication, whether you're the communicator or you're the listener. Unless you live in a vacuum and in outer space, you would not miss the fact that we live in highly sensitive times. So the level of political correctness is very high, and I'm not saying that in a positive way. People don't say what they mean. And there are many reasons why they don't say what they mean, because they're afraid of hurting somebody else's feeling. And more important, they're afraid of what's going to happen when they hurt somebody else's feeling and how the other person is going to react. So we just avoid it. And we, as a result, we don't hold constructive disagreement. And because we don't hold constructive disagreement, there is a significantly lower level of trust. When somebody else gets hurt by something that you say, or when you get hurt by something that I say, you become emotional, you become irrational, and you're defensive. And typically what you do when you are on the defense is you attack back, right? Well, being accountable means, on one hand, that you're really going to say what you mean. Now, the opposite of political correctness and being very, very sensitive to other people's feelings is not being disrespectful. I'm not telling you that being accountable is being disrespectful. Being accountable is being respectful, but really saying what you mean. But the other side of it is what I want you to focus on, that being accountable means not allowing yourself to be too sensitive. Remember that if I said something unintentionally that hurts your feelings, it is 100% your decision to take it personal, become emotional, irrational, with absolutely nothing to gain by it. Heck, even if I said something to you with the intention of hurting your feelings, it is still 100% your decision to take it personal, become emotional, irrational, still with absolutely nothing to gain. So being accountable means that you don't let yourself be that sensitive, that you don't let yourself become emotional and irrational, but you actually reduce your sensitivity. being accountable also means having empathy. And to explain it, empathy does not mean pity or sympathy or compassion. Empathy is your ability to see things from the other person's perspective as if you were them. One of the exercises I do in my workshops is take the number 6 or the number 9 and put them on the side. And then ask people what number do they see. Well, people looking at it from one direction will see 6. People looking at it from another direction will see 9. And the thing is that there are two sides to every story. There is another position other than yours. And having true empathy is your ability to see things from another person's perspective as if you were them, not you, because they are different people. So being accountable in this perspective is having not only the ability, because I believe everybody has the ability, but having the willingness and desire to see things from another person's perspective as if you were them. This is the shorter video version of the Trust Joe podcast. You can listen to the full episode anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts.